Good evening, everybody. So today we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to create liveries for the JAS-39. So first off, go to our Discord and find this link, which will download to your hard drive version 1.8 of the latest template. Since the last release, we did many changes to the model, so it's important to get this version. So once you have that on your desktop, you just go and open it, and you extract it whatever you want, but the idea is to have everything within the same folder. All right, once that's done, you can have a look. So you'll see there's going to be one folder and two files here. So the first file that you can see here, that's the actual model, and the PDF file that you have here is actually a list of all of the animations or arguments for the animations that are there for the JAS-39. So if you're trying to turn on the lights or to see the gears come out, you can go through this, and that's going to give you an idea of what you can see. Then you have the textures. So inside of the textures here, you have a bunch of DDS, which are basically a compress file that you can have for DCS or any type of software or game that you can play. And you also have a bunch of PSDs. So the PSDs are the ones that we're going to be editing tonight. In here you can see Mat 1, 3, and 2. Each one of them are representing a different part of the airplane. So let's go and open up the first one. You can use GIMP or Photoshop. I personally prefer Photoshop, so I'm going to be using Photoshop tonight. Let's go get the second one. And let's go get the third one. All right. So Mat 1 is basically the fuselage of the airplane. So anything regarding the main fuselage is going to be here. Here you have the front part of the fuselage, pretty much around the cockpit area. Here you have the exhaust part in the back. These are the intakes, air intakes around here. Here you have the side, so left side and right side. And here you have the gears, front gears. So that's Mat 1. On Mat 2, you have the wings, so left and right wing, and underneath them you have the canards, the cockpit, the bow and the frame of the cockpit, refueling tube, lights, and also the navigation and mission computer around here. And finally on Mat 3, you have pylons and the wheels and the tires. So we're gonna drop Mat 3 for tonight, because most of the time you will never change this, except if, let's say, you need to change the color of your pylons, but we'll see how to do that on other parts of the airplane. So let's just concentrate on Mat 1 and Mat 2. Actually, I'm gonna need to have that Mat 3 for just a second here. So the ideal here is, if I go back here, inside of this folder you will have every single piece that you need to populate for the model to work. Okay, if you never open a END file, you can do so. You need to have the basically this program, which is called ModelViewer 2. And ModelViewer 2 is basically the a tool that we can use to check our liveries without going into the software or the program, the game. So as you can see right now, I have all of these camo on the airplane. That's because I'm missing some textures. And if I go in here, you can see that I'm actually missing these 3 matte textures, which are important for it to run. So what we're going to do is we're going to generate them. So you can save as, and you don't need to go for a DDS You can save it in any format you want, just needs to be the same type of format. So in my case, it's much quicker to just save it as a BMP. So I'm just going to go there and save it as a BMP. Save it. I'm going to go here, File, Save As, BMP. And the last one here, File, Save As, BMP. All right. So when you have these three pieces, when you're going to go back here, you're going to click this little button here, which refreshes your textures or reloads your textures. Okay, so you can go here and we'll try that again. There we go. All right. Sometimes you need to restart the program for it to work properly, but here you have it. All right, let's say that I want to change something to this particular livery here. Okay. So there's an important rule of thumb, let's say. If you have an EDM, the texture folder here is going to be like a pair. So anything that you drop in here is going to be read by this EDM. If you go and you hide these files within a subfolders, it's not going to be able to do it except if you go with a Lua file. So it's important really to keep this structure together. So you have your EDM file, you have your texture. If you have multiple version, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this one over. So let's say this is my default, let's say the one that I have for Swedish. I'm going to keep it like this, and then I can start my own work within this one here. All right, so let's go in it. So let's go over the different, how can I say, base layers. So the first layer that you will see is the meshes. The mesh is basically, if I go zoom in right here, you can see that's how the UVs are laid out on the airframe. So where the curves are, where the different parts of the model are. So you can see here we have the antennas. This is the gear well. Here I have the pitot tubes. And if I go back here, you can see where the tailpipe here comes out, etc., etc. Okay. If you're trying to figure out where each part of these things are on your airplane, you can always turn on this UV, which basically is a map to help you guys figure out where is the items. So what I can do is just save as. Once again, I go BMP. I'm going to replace the file. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to refresh it. And now you can see, I can go see. So if I want to go and paint, let's say, right here, this part right here. So you can see this is going to be in the 17 GL and GQ area. So if I go back into my PSD, I can go find 17. So that's basically this area right here. So if I turn that off, what I'm seeing in gray here is that. So let's say that I wanted to paint that, I don't know, blue. I can go here, add a new layer, go for blue, go with my brush. Paint that blue. Export one more time. Go back, refresh, and you see now that area is blue. All right. So let's take a practical example and try to apply it to this airframe. All right. So now that I know the mesh and the UEV, I can go into the main body here and see what we have. So we have the weathering. So that's basically, let me unzoom here. All right. Weathering is basically all the dirt and the grime around the fuselage. Then you have the formation lights. Then you have the bodywork. Bodywork is basically all of the panels and the different components. Then you have your rivets, lines and scratches. So those are all the bolts and the scratches and the different panel lines. Then you have the decals. So here I can have it like with no decals or with decals. In details, I added a few other details. For example, inside of the inlets, it's darker. GPS antenna is a different color, etc. You can see here they're all enumerated. And then we have the foreground. So basically most Saab airplane come with two tones, so a light gray and a dark gray. So here you have the two tones. So if you wanted to make it a little bit lighter, you would just go here and change this to, I don't know, a lighter gray, and it would come out like that. So pretty much everything is done for you at the moment. And then you have your background. So that would be the belly paint versus the foreground, which is mostly the top paint, the fuselage paint. All right. Same can be said for the wings. So again, the mesh, which is basically where the model goes. Then you can use the UV to find the different parts. The main body, you have your shadows. Then you have your dirt. Then you have your lines and rivets, your decals, details, which is in this case refueling tube, some of the electronics, computer, cockpit information. You don't need to touch that most of the time. And finally the foreground, which is going to be the top. So basically foreground is this gray on the top, and then the background is this lighter gray on the bottom part of the airplane. And there you go. So first tip that I would say is you can go to Flick is a great Flickr, I don't know how you call it, but this is a great source of information for pictures in regards to any airplane that you would like to do. Most of my reference photos come from here. There's just tons and tons and tons and tons here. You can go and add some details if there's a specific country or a specific tail number that you're looking for, but most of the time these are very high resolution. You can zoom in, you can go and see all of the different decals and the details. It's pretty good stuff. So I use this, and another good way of getting some detail for your airplanes is just go to model sites and find these decals that you can see here. I was able to find something very specific to the JAS-39. You have the same thing for the Vegan, for the A-10, whatever, and you can use those to create your own afterwards. You just use them as guides. So as you can see on this one here, you had like some about the emergency, no step, hooks, etc., etc., etc. So what I did is I went ahead and I created my own. So I just created this PSD of stencils where I basically took the templates that I saw and I just upscaled them. The ideal is like to make them very, very big. So when you put them on your airplane and they get smaller, then it's easier. Most of the rondels and stuff like that I found on, Wikipedia or other websites. It's pretty easy to find around. So once you know what you want to put on your plane and that you have a few reference pictures. So for today, what I'm going to be working with is the tie variant of the Gripen. So you can see this is a single-seater C. I can see here that it's pretty much the same 2 tones gray from the Swedish Air Force. Some differences you can see here, it doesn't have a rundle in the front. It has it here on the frame. And then you have this tail art with the shark and the number. So that's one of the pictures. I have a higher detail one here with a little bit of the right side of the airplane, seeing the countermeasures and whatnot. Formation lights. No special decals anywhere. I can see here that I have 39861, which is funny because it doesn't match the tail number. This is very specific about the Thai airframes. Most of the time the tail number matches the serial number here. Another one right here, another good view of the left side of the airplane. Nothing much happening on this airplane. I can see also that they have the default Swedish stickers. So they're not in Swede, but they're basically the default ones that you would see on different airframes. Another model here. So after doing all of this recon, I can basically, so you see here that, well, maybe it's not very clear, but the number here matches the serial number here. And I have another one here, final part. You can see that the belly art here, we have not much, not even a rundle underneath the wings. It's a pretty basic one to do. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So here, I'm gonna go and get my rundle. So I'm gonna go in. I created a subfolder for these guys. All right. So let's go get the Thai flag. And I'm gonna go back to my mat 1. Actually, I think most of these things are gonna be on mat 2. So we're gonna go do that. So I'm just gonna open up my reference picture, see where the flag goes. So it goes pretty much on the edge here. So we're gonna go and I'm gonna put it in there. Just gonna transform it. That looks about right. Gonna apply, drop it here. And I'm gonna try to bring it underneath all the grime and whatnot. So I'm just gonna put it over the foreground here. There you go. I'm gonna duplicate this. And I'm gonna go and drop it on the other side of the tail right here. Then I'm just gonna align everything. That looks good. And then we're gonna go for the second piece of the tail. So the tail has this very nice shark. So that's another thing that I was able to take. Basically, I found a very high resolution picture of this, and I just took it off a picture and put it in a PSD. So let's go back here. That's the shark. I go back to my mat 2. There's my shark. Gonna make it a little bit smaller. Pretty much in the center. Let me see. Yeah, it's much smaller than that. And it's facing the other side. So if you're wondering how to, how to use this software and whatnot, there's a ton of videos out there. Today is just a quick dirty video to show you how to create a livery for your JAS-39. If you want to go in more details, maybe I'll do one later on, more technical, let's say. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, and I'm going to duplicate this one. and then flip it once again, but in the other direction. Whoops, there we go. Okay. A good practice also is always to rename your layers when you're doing this, or else you get lost. So this could be like shark, and this is reverse or left. All right, and this is the flag. All right, flag. Now the last part of the tail that I need to do is this tail number. So this is a D model. Let's go for a here a C model. So 7007. Okay, and now it needs to go down here. Just gonna resize that. So I would look for the proper font to do this. I'm not gonna bore you with trying to figure out which font this on the airplane it was really. I think it's just a question of like figuring out, and then you do it. So let's just round that up to, let's say, 25. That looks good. And then here also it's going to be 25. All right, and then we're going to line our two together, and there you go. The tail part is completed. I can see also that it's a little bit darker, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make it darker. Perfect. All right, so let's see what it does. I'm going to save as, once again, BMP, save, okay, okay. Go back to my viewer, and there you go. I have my shark, my flag, my tail number. Oh, I noticed that we didn't take off the Swedish markings, so we're going to do that right now. And then we can work on that, that last part. So the rest is pretty much the same thing. We're going to have the same indication for the opening of the canopy and the ejection seat. We're going to change here the serial number. Hot temp stays the same. No state stay the same. And what else do we have? Gas outlet, hot air, all of the rest stays basically the same. So in our case, it's going to be a very easy job. All right, so let's go back here. We're going to take off those rundles. There we go. Save it once more. Save. Save as. BMP. Save. Save. Okay. Mat 1 now. All right. So again, we're going to go into our stencils or decals. We're going to go find here our rundles. Take them off. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring up our UV, and we're going to bring it all the way down here. And I'm going to use a little bit of transparency to help us out to figure out exactly where we're going to go put those the two rundles from the Thai Air Force. So I'm going to go and put it maybe 50%. All right. And on top of that, I'm going to go and put the mesh. And now I'm going to put it probably, let's say 24, maybe a little bit more. Let's put it 100%, but then use the different transparency. Let's do it in lighten. There, that's pretty good. All right. So let's go back to my picture and find one that we're looking at it on the side. I think that's actually the picture that I took to take the flag and the shark. Then I did a little bit of Photoshop. If you want to take also the actual numbering here, that could be a very easy task to do also. All right. So it looks like the rundle is just next to this exhaust here. So we're going to put it exactly where it's supposed to be. All right, so I'm going to go back to my PSD in my stencils. I'm going to go see, I think, yeah, it was that one. So I'm going to copy that, go back to my matte one. So the exhaust that we were seeing was this one on the airplane. So basically we're going to be putting it roughly around here. So gonna make it smaller, around that size here. All right, apply. Oh, still too big. I think this could be okay here. Perfect. All right, so let's see if it's in the right spot. Save as. Go BMP again. And refresh. All right. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's go see the image. Not quite. It should be up here. So if I go and I see, I should be more in the range of the 40 EG. So let's find 40 EG in our model. All right. 40, 40, 40. And if it's, so let's go bring it a little bit further. So here we have a gap in the texture actually. If I go and remove this here, maybe it's gonna be easier to explain. All right. So the way that it's unwrapped is that we have the bottom part here, and you have the wing, and then you have this part right here. So we're trying to fit it basically in this area right here. That's where we want to go and put it here. So I'm going to put it here and see what happens. So, and also again, I'm going to bring it all the way back to the bottom so I can mix it with the other colors and details. All right. So let's put it right here and see what happens. File, save as. It's a lot of trial and error when you play with it a lot. Oh, so you see it went down. Is it up here? That's a pretty probability. Save as. Yeah, that was the right spot. So I need to move it one aside. So it's going to be right here. That's where I was supposed to put it. All right. And since now I know where to put it, I can basically copy it twice, duplicate, and go and drop it here. That looks pretty good. Align. I'll remove the mesh, save it. Actually, I can see that maybe I'll have it a little bit too high here. Gonna bring it down right here. That looks good. This one here. All right, that looks about right. Then I'm just gonna tone it down because it's a very bright color here. So we're just gonna put it, let's say 75%. So it mixes a little bit more with the color. Then let's save this, save as, BMP, go back, refresh. Yeah. Let's play with the light. Yeah. So let's see. This is mine versus this. Well, let's turn the airplane around. Right there. Great. So I have all my markings. And besides the tail number here, I think that we are pretty much spot on. So let's go over the argument list here that I was saying. So if here you want to take out the gears and see the gears. So you see here you have the nose gear and the right gear and the left gear. So if you go and you play with these arguments, basically you can see you can animate them and they're going to come out. All right. Let's say that I wanted to have a look at the gears. So yeah, gears look good. So what else? Let's see if we can turn on the lights. Oh. Also, I'm going to need to fix this because on the airplane that I was modeling, it was 403. So let's go fix that right now before I forget. I'll just take your tool, 403. There you go. What else that I need to do? Oh, yes, this here. So if that's 403, that means that this serial number here, if I go and I edit that, this is also going to be 403. And the other side, zero, 3. Good. Pretty much done now. Everything looks pretty much okay. Gonna save as, once again, BMP, okay, save. Good. Yeah, gonna refresh this. As you can see, this changed, this changed. I have everything that I need, perfect. Lights, let's turn on the lights. So I would go into my document and I would lights. So 190. Let's go here, 190. Turn on the lights. There we go. Turn on the other one. I think that all the group here are the lights, so there you go. All my lights are turned on. Looks pretty good. All right, so let's put this in the game. So now you have created your livery, you're happy with it. What happens if, let's say, I want to create multiple of them here? All right, so what do? It's pretty easy. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go back to my desktop. And if you remember, just before I had my other texture, which was not the tie. So what I need to do is just rename this texture. So I'm just going to rename this one tie because it's my tie. I need to close these guys up because it's gonna not let me save. Try again. All right, and go back, rename that texture. Oh, now I'm gonna see if it's a proper one. Anyways, if it's not one, it's the other. I'm gonna reopen. There you go. So number 2 was my tie here. Rename tie. So that's how you can work with multiple liveries. You don't need to do any type of Lua coding and stuff like that. Like I said previously, simply put anything that you're working in the texture. Be sure that you have all of your texture. None of them are missing here. If you need to have more information on like what is like Mat 2, you can have a look here. Maybe I'll do another tutorial more in detail of how to use ModelViewer, but that's basically it. So now that I have my textures, I want to play with them. So how do I create for the game to put my texture in game? So I'm going to go back into my template. I'm going to go get my BMPs. So I'm going to open this one, and I'm going to go back, open with, and just for the fun of it, I'm going to go with GIMP this time around, just to show you that it's as simple. And go back and use my other one, tie 2, open with, and GIMP. All right. So for the sake of compression, so let's just go here and look at this. So currently my 2 textures are roughly 50 KB or megabyte each, which is quite heavy. So let's just compress them. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to save them as a DDS. And I'm going to put them on my desktop for ease of use. There you go, that's one. And now the back here, save as. Desktop, oops, export as. It's a little bit different with GIMP desktop. All right. Perfect. So once you have your 2 textures, now you can go in game and put them. So what you need, let's go to your JAS-39 folder. So basically you're going to have this structure when you're going to download the new version of the mod. And all the textures are going to be here in textures. Okay, you have your common, which is basically where we put most of the common textures. For example, the engines are the same, or the I don't know, the lights are the same. We don't want to replicate them for every single one of these liveries, or else the mod is going to be humongous. So what we do is we just separate them, and that's the way we do it. So we have operators. Thailand is an operator, so I'm just going to go in here. And I'm also going to open, if I go here and just open myself a new one, aircraft, JAS-39, liveries, air to ground. As you can see, we have a naming convention for our different liveries. And what I did here is I created 09 for our Royal Thai Air Force livery. And if I go in here, I have a description Lua. And this description Lua is just going to do something very easy. it's just going to tell the game where to get its textures. All right. So what I want to tell him is actually don't get the base texture, which is JAS-39 underscore mat 123. Just go and take the 09. As you can see, we worked on mat 1 and mat 2. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename my mat 1 and my mat 2 09, and I'm going to go put them in that folder of operators. So I'm just going to do that right now. Rename 09 underscore rename 09 underscore. There we go. I'm going to go back into my operators. And you need to do this 2 times. You need to do it once for the air to ground and one for the normal air to air version. All right, so let's go to textures, operators. I'm going to put them in there, replace the old files. Now we have the new files in there and we're ready to go. Let's say that you want to create a new one. So how would you do that? Very easy. You just go to aircraft, you go to your liveries, you go to air to ground or whatever version. Oh, not cockpit, air to ground right here. And we're up to 28. So you would just copy paste this one here, name it 29, name it, I don't know, new, and in the description Lua here, you could put your name. Then this needs to change, so you can call it, I don't know, new. This is how you will see it in the mission editor. So we're just going to put it new here, and then here you would change it for 2929, and you can drop your files in whatever folder you want. If it's a fictional or if it's an operator, do it whatever you want. And you save it and you're ready to go. Cool. So let's see how it looks in game now. At the same time, I was going to show you a little bit of the rework that we did for other textures and see what we have. All right, mission editor, create new mission, okay. Gonna get my air to ground version and here. All right. So this is the, just take this off. We have our clean version, basically the demo version that I showed you guys, just with no special insignia on it. Then we have Pages that redid his wonderful, beautiful Czech Air Force, and we have a bunch of them. So these are all the different tail numbers. Gonna cycle through them. That's a very excellent job. Then we have Jan 55 that did this awesome Brazilian camo, the default camo that we can see on the Egripin that Brazil just purchased. We have an old one from our, and you can see here some of the details that are not aligning anymore because of the new model. Here, Hungarian Air Force from JAS-39. Great job. I really like that he went and he got all of the different type of details for the little labels here, or the decals, which are specific to his country. He did a very good job. And he also did tail number 40, which is a little bit different with very cool tail art. Then we have this one that was not updated from Megalax. One that I did, which still needs to be updated. The desert camo and other ones need to be updated also. And what do we have? We have the new South African Air Force that was just completed today with all the proper decals and rondels and whatnot. The Splinter that was redone also for the mod. And Royal Air Force, Thai Air Force. There you go. So this is the one that we just did today. As you can see, it's ready to fly in game. Let's try it out. Let's put a little bit of arm in it. All right, guys, let's see if we can have this livery in game. So there you go. The Thai livery is in game, and that's basically how you do it. So until next time, check your 6 and fly safe.